The Venezuela Nuestra campaign command denounced the plans of the extreme right to declare electoral fraud. In the United States, partisan support grows for Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party experiences its biggest influx in small dollar donations since 2020. And the industrial activity of Argentina's small and medium-sized companies experienced a setback and a collapse in the use of their industrial capacities in June. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Venezuela Nuestra campaign command denounced the plans of the extreme right to declare electoral fraud. The head of the campaign command, Jorge Rodriguez, continues denouncing a blackout that has been unleashed on the activities of the candidate of the Great Patriotic Poll, Nicolás Maduro. The top leader indicated that the extreme right wing is trying to silence the reality of this process and to implement a sort of electoral April 11th with the objective of falsifying a reality that serves its destabilizing purposes. Jorge Rodriguez stated that they have an operation centered in Miami, and from there they will shunt fraud in a presumed official transmission. Rodriguez ratified which are the true polls in this electoral contest.
They already assured it, and we denounce them here. We are publicly denouncing it. They have a base in the city of Miami. That base is being set up by the sister-in-law of Mrs. Magali Mehta, and that place is from where they are going to declare fraud in the afternoon of next Sunday, July 28th. And from there, of course, they are going to connect with what they call the official transmission. It is not the National Electoral Council. It is not even located in any city of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
In Venezuela, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez met with representatives of the Carter Center in the framework of the presidential elections. The head of the Venezuelan Defense Ministry pointed out that the military corps guarantee the human rights and security of the people in the July 28th electoral process. It is important to emphasize that the Carter Center will carry out its mission in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding signed with the National Electoral Council. In addition, it will also implement the agreement with the Declaration of Principles for the International Observation of Elections and the Code of Conduct for International Electoral Observers. In Venezuela, the inhabitants of the city of Valera in the state of Trujillo welcomed the candidate of the Great Patriotic Poll, Nicolás Maduro, with acts of support. During a meeting with the people of Valera, the presidential candidate reiterated that he will achieve a resounding victory in the presidential elections to be held next Sunday, July 28th. Furthermore, he thanked the population for their unconditional support and courage and reiterated his commitment to preserve peace in the face of the pretensions of violence of the Venezuelan extreme right.
I came to see your face. Lower the flags, because I came to see the people. To thank them for so much bravery, for so much patriotism, for so much strength. Trujillo, I love you. I am Nicolás Maduro Moros, President of the People. And I say from Valera that we are going to win the presidential elections next Sunday, July 28th.
On the last weekend before Venezuela's presidential elections, families across the country came out to the beaches to enjoy their Sunday. Our envoy, Brian Meyer, tells us more.
It's a typical Sunday in Venezuela, and the beaches on La Guaira, the closest seaside town to the capital of Caracas, are full of day tourists. A traditional working-class destination, closer to home than the posher beaches down the coast. Families enjoy the afternoon together, pumping money into the local economy by buying food, drink, and souvenirs.
Things are going good, very well, thank God. The Holy Mother and all the blessed saints. As you can see, a lot of seasonal tourists are starting their vacations here in La Guaira. We're receiving them with much love and affection. Things are improving little by little. We have Los Niños Bay, we have Verde Beach and Vasito Beach, and we are here welcoming them with much love and affection.
In many ways, the town of La Guaira illustrates the economic turnaround, which has resulted in steady GDP growth since the sanctions-crippled economy hit a low point in 2020. Although there is still a long way to go to reach the high point of 2012, inflation hit a 20-year low in June, and local recreation spots like beaches are seeing more visitors from around Venezuela and the world due to an increase in international tourism, which saw over 1 million visitors visit the country in the first half of 2024.
The tourists come from outside the country, but also from outside Caracas, from the towns, from Ocumar, Manacay, Valencia. Many people come from outside the country. I have many friends who come, and you will tell your friends once you have already eaten that they are good. The arepas, they are very good, good size, good price, everything.
It's just another typical Sunday on the beach in Venezuela. Next Sunday is going to look a lot different as millions of Venezuelans come out to the polling stations to vote on the next president of the country. Brian Mir, teleSUR, La Guaira.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, the Democratic Party experienced its biggest influx in small dollar donations since 2020 as partisan support for Kamala Harris grows. On Sunday, following the news of President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the presidential race and his backing of Vice President Kamala Harris instead, the leading Democratic online donation processor, ActBlue, reported that donors gave $46.7 million in small dollar donations through the platform. The funds were confirmed on Monday by Harris' campaign spokesperson Brian Fallon, who said she raised $49.6 million in grassroots donations following Biden's endorsement. From the White House in Washington, D.C., and during her first public address since Joe Biden's withdrawal from the presidential race, Vice President Kamala Harris highlighted the head of state's legacy.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms.
On the other hand, the international analyst Ana Ceseña assured that this week is key to measure the consensus of the Democratic Party between Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama.
I imagine that during the week, it will be clearer how far the consensus within the Democratic Party can go. There are other candidates who are strong candidates, and there is one who is not a candidate yet, but it is a figure that has been informally being talked about within the United States, that is Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama could be a candidate that if she meets the consensus within the party, she could have the conditions to dispute with the Trump-Vance formula. Michelle Obama has a lot of sway in the population, a lot of recognition. What is not sure yet is that she can really count on all the votes within the members of the Democratic Party. There are power issues at play and not so much the possibility of having the best candidate to defeat the Republicans nor what the citizens think. That is only half taken into account. But in reality, the definition will be marked by the internal power games among the Democrats, which are not easy.
On Monday in Russia, residents of Moscow reacted to the news that President Biden had withdrawn from his campaign for a second term. In this regard, locals stressed their confidence in President Putin, whoever the new president is, and called for a path to peace to be found.
I think whoever the president there is, it won't affect us at all, because we are too strong a nation, our president is too strong. Whoever they choose, I don't know all the people who run for president there, it will not affect us in any negative way. I have too much confidence in my country, in the president of my country. Of course, I would like Russia, the United States and Europe to find common ground finally. We are all human beings and we all want the same things: peace, tranquility, prosperity. What more do you need?
The industrial activity of Argentina's small and medium-sized companies (SMEs) experienced a setback and a collapse in the use of their industrial capacities in June. According to the Argentinian Confederation of Medium-Sized Companies (CAME), the production of small and medium-sized industries dropped by 20.4% year-on-year in June and it accumulated an attrition of 19.1% in the first half of 2024. This would be the 8th consecutive month in which the SMEs experience a decrease in their productive capacities. In this regard, the companies polled considered that the measure most expected by the sector would be a tax reduction, while another 14.6% think that the easing of labor regulations could improve profitability. Also in Argentina, the State Workers Association in a state of permanent assembly against the cuts made by the government of Javier Milei. Union members rejected and described as insufficient the salary increases of 3.5% proposed by the country's management for the national public sector and of 3 points for the month of August. The workers stated that the government's offer do not even reach the official inflation levels, but on the contrary destroy the living conditions of all public employees. The union indicated that since the arrival of President Javier Milei to Casa Rosada, the loss of purchasing power in the public sector exceeded 26%. Mexico's meteorological authorities forecast heavy rainfall in several areas of the country. According to weather forecast, the northern, western, central, southern, and southeastern states of Mexico will receive tropical wave number 12 with heavy rains in the regions of Jalisco, Colima, Michoacán, Guerrero, and the state of Mexico. Experts indicate that the northern region will experience torrential rains with electrical discharges and possible hail. In addition, strong winds are forecast with the possible formation of tornadoes in Chihuahua, Nuevo León, and Tamaulipas. The National Service of Geology and Mining of Chile maintains the yellow alert after the Villarrica volcano showed activity during the last hours. According to the agency, the volcano emitted ash, rocks, and gases that created a column of 780 meters that was visible from different points of the Araucanía and Los Lagos regions where the volcano is located. There were also earthquakes associated with the explosive activity inside the volcano. The National Volcanic Surveillance Network of this institution detailed that although it is a relatively minor activity, it does have a direct impact on the surrounding areas. In view of this situation, the authorities are maintaining a security perimeter of 1.5 kilometers from the center of the crater. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Final short break. Don't go away. On Monday, the United Nations condemned Israel's army's latest attack on a humanitarian aid convoy bound for the Gaza Strip. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, known as UNRWA, announced that Israeli forces fired at least 5 times at United Nations vehicles, leaving no casualties as they were able to find shelter during the attack. It should be noted that UNRWA has condemned the occupation army for the killing of more than 100 United Nations workers, as it also demands accountability for those responsible for the death. The number of Palestinians killed by Israel in the Gaza Strip is on the verge of reaching 40,000 victims since the beginning of the genocidal operation. In this regard, health authorities in Gaza confirmed that the Israeli occupation's attacks against the Palestinian civilians have claimed more than 39,000 victims and left more than 89,000 wounded, most of them women and children. Meanwhile, they also announced that the Israeli attacks on Gaza have killed 23 Palestinians and wounded 91 in the last 24 hours. On the other hand, the civil defense announced that a large number of the dead are still lying in the streets and under the rubble. A tent belonging to the press and located inside the Al-Aqsa hospital in Gaza was hit by an Israeli missile attack, killing one person and injuring dozens. Our correspondent Huda Hegazi with the story.
Just a few minutes ago, the Israeli army bombed one of the tents here inside the Martyrs of Al-Aqsa hospital. This tent belonged to the press, to several media outlets, and as we can see, it has been completely bombed and destroyed by a missile fired from the planes of the Israeli occupation army.
Ha sido completamente bombardeada y destruida por parte de un misil proveniente de uno de los aviones del ejército de la ocupación de Israel.
At least one person was killed instantly in this attack and two of them were injured and are in a critical and life-threatening condition. Also, a dozen of evacuated Gazans who were near this tent were also wounded. It must be said and emphasized that this tent belonged to a group of journalists, to the press.
Hay que decir y recalcar que esta tienda de campaña pertenecía a un grupo de periodistas y que pertenece a la prensa y al parecer.
One of the main objectives of the occupation forces is to attack the press workers to prevent them from continuing to report to the world the crimes and atrocities committed by the Israeli regime here in the Gaza Strip. We must emphasize that this tent is very close to the place we have settled in.
El régimen de Israel aquí en la franja de Gaza. Incluso destacar de que esta tienda de campaña se encuentra muy próxima al lugar donde nosotros nos instalamos, es decir,
that is to say, between this tent and us there are approximately 5 meters. If the bombing had been bigger, with more missiles, this tent would have been hit by the missiles and we could have been wounded or lost our lives.
El bombardeo hubiese sido mayor, hubiese esta tienda de campaña atacada por más misiles, nosotros incluso podríamos haber sido lesionados o incluso podríamos haber perdido la vida. Y como estamos viendo nuevamente, el ejército de Israel,
as we are seeing, the Israeli army wants to attack the press workers, the media workers, and this is not the first time that they have attacked the tents of journalists inside the Martyrs of Al-Aqsa hospital. About 3 months ago, another tent was directly attacked, wounding several journalists.
Anteriormente, hace unos 3 meses, también otra tienda de campaña fue directamente atacada, provocando la lesión de varios periodistas. No queda ningún lugar seguro aquí en la franja de Gaza.
There is no safe place left here in the Gaza Strip since any place is being bombed. Even the hospitals that are supposed to be safe places, or even the press that should be under international protection. Because we are doing our job, we are being directly bombed.
Directamente bombardeados, como nos acaba de comunicar mi compañero, su tienda de campaña se encontraba aquí mismo y mi tienda de campaña se encontraba aquí y por lo tanto.
As my colleague just told us, his tent was right here and my tent was here, so any of us could have been injured, and we all fear that at any moment the Israeli army could bomb again the tents of journalists. Now we cannot say, literally, that we are safe. We could lose our lives at any moment.
In Nigeria, a new measure by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu authorized a wage increase of twice the current salary for civil servants. Regardless, the Nigerian National Labour Congress declared that the measure was insufficient and below the demand for a six-fold increase in wages as the nation faces a severe cost of living crisis. Precisely, the current Nigerian government has been criticized for the removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of exchange rates, which has caused inflation estimated at 34.1%. Meanwhile, civil servants themselves insist that the wage increase to 70,000 naira, equivalent to $43, is not enough. On Monday, the Olympic flame continued its journey through the Paris region in the Essonne department just 3 days before the opening ceremony. In this sense, the 64th stage of the torch relay started in the town of Étampes, famous as a royal town and a land of art and history. A total of 150 torch bearers will carry the flame over 26 kilometers and 11 municipalities, with the lighting of the cauldron at the Robert Bobin Stadium. On Tuesday, the journey will continue on ice lines before arriving in Paris on Friday for the opening of the Olympic Games, with the Seine River as its epicenter. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron affirmed that his nation is ready to host the Olympic Games. In the meantime, just 3 days before the opening ceremony, Macron supervised with his Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin the most confidential security elements, as he also committed to return to Saint-Denis, site of the Olympic Village. For his part, he emphasized that it has been years of work to ensure the success of the Five Rings event, which will be organized by Paris for the third time in its history. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.